That's totally ignorant. I would never do that to my children or any child. Try to kill them? Come on, stupid.
At the height of his fame, Michael Jackson didn't just captivate the world with his moonwalk, he also drove the public into a frenzy trying to catch a glimpse of his 3 children, whom he guarded fiercely behind layers of mysterious face coverings. But then he passed away suddenly, and that veil fell. More than 15 years have gone by, and the names Prince Paris and Biggie Jackson, once hidden child legends, are now each writing a different chapter of their own. One battles inner darkness, another quietly protects a billion-dollar estate, and one is entering a legal fight against a blood relative. So ultimately, who is carrying Michael's soul forward, who is turning away, and who is the silent successor? Watch now to uncover the truth behind the spotlight, and don't forget to follow the channel so you won't miss the next chapter of the Jackson family. Prince Jackson, the heir of responsibility. After Michael Jackson passed away, millions wept at the sight of 11-year-old Paris giving a tearful eulogy at his funeral. My daddy was the best father you could ever imagine, and I just want to say, I love him so much. But few people noticed the silent 12-year-old boy standing beside her, eyes red and swollen, not shedding a tear yet so quiet that every camera lens passed him by. That was Michael Joseph Jackson Jr., the eldest son the world knows as Prince Jackson. From that moment on, he was no longer just the child of a legend, but began a journey of his own, one marked by quiet resolve, responsibility, and personal choices that stood apart from the glamorous expectations once imposed on the King of Pop's heir. Prince was born on February 13, 1997 in Los Angeles, the child of Michael Jackson and Debbie Rowe, a white nurse who worked at the dermatologist clinic of Michael's private doctor. From birth, he was a global media obsession, not because he appeared everywhere, but because of the mystery his father created. I grew up in a fishbowl, and I'm not going to let the same thing happen to my children, Michael told the press. From then on, Prince, along with his sister Paris and later younger brother Biggie, grew up at Neverland Ranch, a fantasy world entirely removed from the outside. Prince's childhood meant hiding behind strange masks when in public homeschooling with private tutors and traveling the world on private jets. But beneath the luxury was a fiercely protective and strict father. Michael forbade his children from using social media, withheld their knowledge of their public identities, and taught them about kindness, humility, and responsibility. These quiet lessons left a deep imprint on Prince, shaping a version of him that was far removed from the spoiled image people expected of a pop star's child. After Michael's death in 2009, Prince's life was turned upside down. He and his siblings were sent to live with their grandmother Katherine Jackson in Encino, California. As the public fought over who should be their legal guardian, Prince, just 12 years old, was forced to learn how to stay silent and observe. In the end, it was decided that Katherine would be their primary guardian, with TJ Jackson, son of Tito Jackson, as co-guardian. Though protected, Prince gradually stepped into the public eye with caution. No shocking statements, no wild parties like other Hollywood rich kids. Instead, he chose the path of education. In 2019, Prince graduated from Loyola Marymount University with a degree in business administration, a quiet yet meaningful achievement. Many assumed a pop icon's son would never need a degree, but for Prince it was a way to walk on his own 2 feet. During college, he also did something unexpected, founding the Heal Los Angeles Foundation, inspired by Michael's Heal the World Foundation. I think my dad would be very proud, because that was one of his biggest goals, to spread positivity and happiness not just through music, but through action, he said. Under Prince's leadership, Heal Los Angeles partnered with food delivery services during the COVID-19 pandemic to provide thousands of free meals to those in need across the city. No publicity stunts, no name branding. In an interview with Entertainment Tonight, Prince shared, "My dad always taught me, you did a good job now, what's next? How can you do better?" That's how he lived, and that's what I'm trying to do. Outside of charity, Prince has a strong passion for film and motorcycles. On his YouTube channel, he shares Harley-Davidson road trips across California and co-hosts film reviews with his brother Biggie and cousin Taj Jackson. He once said he wanted to become a director because it's something I always dreamed of doing with my dad. Though he hasn't formally entered Hollywood, his love for storytelling has shaped him into an independent, calm, and deeply responsible figure the big brother Paris and Biggie proudly look up to. Still, being Michael Jackson's son is never simple. Over the years, Prince has faced constant tabloid rumors about his biological identity, whether Michael was really his father, whether he carried Jackson DNA. His response has always been calm. What does that mean? How does that affect your life? It doesn't change anything in mine. That composure has earned him growing respect as a true adult in his own right, not just somebody's kid. Today, Prince lives in a $2.2 million luxury apartment in Rancho Palos Verdes, California, purchased right after graduation. He maintains a strong relationship with his college girlfriend, Molly Shermong, and keeps a quiet, low-profile lifestyle. On anniversaries of Michael's death, especially the 15-year mark in 2024, Prince didn't make long speeches. He simply posted a photo of his father holding a child at the 1993 Super Bowl captioned, "Miss you, Dad. The world was better with you in it." According to Michael Jackson's will, Prince and his siblings inherited 40% of the estate, each receiving around $8 million annually. After Sony Music Group purchased 50% of Michael's music catalog for $600 million in 2023, each child's estate value was estimated at roughly $150 million. But what people remember most about Prince isn't the wealth or the fame. It's how quietly he stepped out of his father's enormous shadow and chose a path of meaning, groundedness, and kindness. He doesn't sing, he doesn't dance, but he keeps Michael's legacy alive in a different way through kindness, responsibility, and the heart that never forgot his father's first lesson. Whoever you are, be kind first. And maybe that's why even from heaven, Michael Jackson can still smile when he looks at his eldest son. Paris Jackson, the free spirit warrior. If Prince is the one who inherited Michael Jackson's sense of responsibility, then Paris, his only daughter, is the rebellious, free, conflicted, and wounded soul. Unlike anyone else in the family, Paris does not try to escape the spotlight, but steps onto it, laughs with it, cries with it, and even wagers her life to live authentically. She is not only a new icon of the Jackson family, but also a vivid testament to the strength of one's inner world after loss and psychological darkness. Paris Michael Catherine Jackson was born on April 3, 1998 in Los Angeles. She is the second child of Michael and Debbie Rowe, carrying both the name of the city where she was conceived and the name of her grandmother, Catherine, a symbolically rich combination. From a young age, Paris lived with her two brothers at the Neverland Ranch, where her father tried to recreate the childhood paradise he had been robbed of. She didn't know she was the daughter of one of the greatest artists of the 20th century. In Paris's childhood mind, Michael was simply Dad, the man who often cooked, played, and held her to sleep every night. I didn't know who he was. I just thought he was Dad. He was my world, and we were his world, she once shared. And so, when Michael Jackson suddenly passed away in 2009, Paris's world collapsed. At 11, she lost not only her beloved father, but also the only shield that protected her from the harshness of the world. All my sense of safety disappeared with my dad, she said. Moved to live with her grandmother Catherine in a crowded house with little privacy, Paris began to fall into the deep pit of psychological trauma, a dark journey that lasted nearly a decade. By age 15, she had already engaged in several dangerous acts stemming from emotional pain. One incident that led to her hospitalization in 2015 shocked the public, but it was only the surface of what she had endured: severe depression, anxiety disorders, eating disorders, alcohol addiction, and paranoia whenever she heard the sound of a camera. I could get startled by the rustling of a trash bag, thinking it was paparazzi. I used to hear voices. I had PTSD, Paris said in a 2017 interview with Rolling Stone. People saw a Jackson girl with a bold and artistic appearance, but inside Paris was a battlefield of endless inner struggle. Unable to find something to hold on to, she began binge eating to fill the emptiness, only to then feel disgusted with herself. She once said, "I hated myself. I didn't think I deserved to live." From a mischievous little girl, Paris became quiet, withdrawn, and carried a pain that no one could ease, until she found her only escape: music. Paris began composing writing journals and experimenting with her first musical notes as a form of self-healing. She played guitar, sang, and gradually recovered a part of her shattered soul. In 2020, Paris released her debut solo album titled Wilted, a folk indie work filled with melancholy depth and rawness. Completely different from her father's music, but still bearing a powerful emotional imprint. She once shared, "Everyone in my family makes music. I mean, I'm a Jackson, so it makes sense that I'm a musician. But I chose to do folk indie. That's how I stay true to myself." This album wasn't loud, didn't top the Billboard charts, but it was praised by critics for its songwriting depth. Paris later released singles like Just You, Lighthouse, and notably Band-Aid in 2023, a track with stronger, freer vibes that marked a shift from sorrow to liberation. Though she hasn't released a new album yet, she revealed she has dozens of songs ready and is working toward a full new album. Beyond music, Paris is also a promising model and actress. She has appeared in popular series such as American Horror Story Sex Appeal Hulu and films like Gringo 2018 and The Space Between 2021. Her angular face and versatile fashion style, from bohemian wildness to sensual femininity, helped her become the face of KVD beauty sign with IMG models and grace the covers of Rolling Stone, Vogue, and People magazines. Paris also drew attention when she covered over 80 of her tattoos just to attend the Grammy Awards in an elegant and unexpected gown, a statement that I can be anyone, as long as it feels right to me. She once said, "I can be feminine. I can be a tomboy. I can be sexy and rough. I don't need to force myself into any single mold." In her journey of self-definition, Paris also publicly refused to label her sexual orientation. "I don't consider myself bisexual because I've dated more than just men and women," she frankly shared in an episode of Red Table Talk. She also said that coming out to her family was a challenge as my family is very religious, and things like homosexuality are taboo. Still, she affirmed her respect for their beliefs, but refused to let them define her identity. "I love them, but I no longer expect them to understand me," she said. In 2024, Paris announced her engagement to music producer Justin Long. She posted a screenshot of the proposal moment on Instagram with the caption, "These past years living with you has been such a wonderful thing. I couldn't dream of a more perfect person." This is a mature Paris one, hurt enough to know what she needs, and strong enough to no longer live for others' approval. Financially, Paris inherited 40% of Michael Jackson's estate, estimated at around $150 million, receiving $8 million annually in allowance. But instead of relying on that legacy, Paris chose independence. She worked as a model and actress just to earn a living without depending on her father's money. She bought a private house in Topanga Canyon for $2 million in 2017, then moved to a more secluded mansion in Hollywood Hills worth $3.8 million, once owned by stars like Rock Hudson, K.D. Lang, and Jesse Carmichael Maroon 5. Despite her busy schedule, Paris maintains close ties with her siblings. At memorial events for Michael, the three children often appear together, most recently at the 2024 London premiere of MJ the Musical. Paris wore a fitted reddish-brown dress posing with her two brothers before the cameras. But her eyes still held something else. As if she stood between two worlds, one of her legendary father's glory, and the other a life she's carved out on her own. It can be said that Paris Jackson is not just a Jackson child. She is a spiritual warrior, someone who has seen the abyss, fallen into it, and climbed back out with every note, every scar, and every defiant smile against judgment. She lives by the principle, "I don't need anyone's acceptance. I just need to forgive myself." And that is what makes Paris a different kind of legacy. Not a replica of Michael, but a free, brave, and magnetic being on her own uniquely unrepeatable path. Biggie Jackson, the quiet guardian. If Prince represents reason and Paris embodies intense emotion, then Biggie Jackson is a special case, quiet, discreet, far from the spotlight, yet silently carrying a mission no one expected. The youngest child, once known to the world as Blanket, the tiny baby Michael Jackson dangled from a Berlin balcony, is now grown, renamed, and beginning to write his own chapter. He speaks little, appears rarely, but each time he does, he prompts people to see Michael Jackson's legacy from a different angle, one of measured inheritance. Prince Michael Jackson II, born on February 21, 2002, is Michael's youngest child. Unlike his two older siblings, Biggie was born via surrogacy, and the identity of his mother has never been made public. At just 9 months old, he became the center of global criticism after the infamous incident in which Michael held him over a hotel balcony in Berlin to greet fans. The Western media dissected the act without mercy, although Michael quickly apologized, calling it a mistake. In a moment of excitement, the image of baby Blanket lingered for many years. Biggie grew up in the shadows while the world watched. Even when his father died in 2009, he didn't cry in front of cameras. But according to those close to the family, Blanket was the most psychologically affected child after Michael's death. He became isolated, withdrawn, and rarely spoke to anyone besides his brother Prince. He was bullied over the nickname Blanket. He felt like he didn't belong anywhere a family member revealed. That's why in 2015, he changed his name to Biggie Jackson. A small shift, but one with great significance, the first step to redefine himself beyond the shadow of Blanket. Though the son of a music legend, Biggie chose a life of privacy. He does not use social media. He avoids the media. He does not attend entertainment events unless there's a compelling reason. But Biggie hasn't disappeared. He quietly pursues a passion for filmmaking, something few expected from someone once called the invisible child of Michael. His brother Prince once shared Biggie's loved watching films since he was little. He doesn't just watch, he studies them. He learns how to tell stories, just like my dad. That passion led Biggie into cinema, not as an actor but as a director. In 2023, Biggie wrote and directed his debut short film Roselle, an independent project screened at the Santa Monica Film Festival. The film didn't just surprise audiences, it won Best Dramatic Short, marking a promising beginning. Critics described the work as a delicate slice of loss and rebirth, clearly reflecting the young director's personal experience. Biggie did not walk the red carpet. He gave no interviews. But that victory made the media begin to look at him differently. No longer the boy once called Blanket, but a young artist with direction and his own identity. Though he lives quietly, Biggie is not indifferent to social issues. In 2021, he surprised the public with a rare television appearance on the UK's Good Morning Britain, calling for climate action. In a brief but powerful speech, Biggie said, "I think it's important our generation understands the impact of climate change. We have to do something now, not later." These words did not come from a professional environmental activist, but from a young man experienced enough and clear-eyed enough to recognize his responsibility in a changing world. More recently, Biggie again captured public attention by engaging in a legal dispute with his own grandmother, Catherine Jackson. The issue arose when 93-year-old Catherine requested $500,000 from Michael's estate to cover legal fees in her battle against the estate's executors. Biggie strongly opposed it. He argued that the expense did not benefit the estate, and that using Michael's money to pursue unnecessary legal fights was wasteful and unfair. Public opinion was split. Some felt Biggie was too harsh on his grandmother, but most supported his stance. Protecting a legacy does not mean spending recklessly. Currently, Biggie lives in a $2.6 million mansion in Calabasas, California, a high-security gated community. He purchased the house right after his 18th birthday, symbolizing his first step into adult freedom. The villa includes 6 bedrooms, 7.5 bathrooms, a home theater, a bar, and a dedicated film editing space, in line with his passion. A close source revealed Biggie lives alone. He doesn't work like a showbiz figure, but he's always got a personal project going, and he takes his future very seriously. Biggie's net worth is currently estimated at around $150 million, similar to his siblings. Each year he receives $8 million from the family trust, but rarely spends lavishly. No luxury cars, no wild parties, no paparazzi trailing him. Biggie seems to have chosen a path completely opposite to the one the media once imposed on him. Not to hide, but to define his own role. It can be said that Biggie Jackson is the final, yet no less vital piece in the post-Michael Jackson legacy. If Prince inherited responsibility and Paris became the symbol of artistic rebirth, then Biggie is the quiet guardian of the legacy, the one who says no when needed, the one who protects value not with music but with action. He doesn't need a microphone. He doesn't need a stage. But every time he appears, the world is reminded that little boy once called Blanket has grown, become clear-eyed, and is quietly keeping the flame alive for a global legacy. And perhaps even Michael Jackson, the man who once held his son aloft before thousands of cameras, never imagined that his quietest child would be the most level-headed and resilient heir. In a world where media grows louder and artistic legacies are easily commercialized, Biggie Jackson does not shout to be heard. He simply acts, and lets those actions speak for themselves. Brotherhood and legacy. In Hollywood, countless famous families have crumbled under the weight of fame, money, and media pressure. But Michael Jackson's 3 children are a rare case. Not only did they remain standing after the shock of losing their father, they also maintained a strong bond, overcoming differences in personality, birth mothers, and life choices, to protect the most sacred thing their father left behind, a legacy that cannot be measured in dollars, but in its influence across generations. Prince Paris and Biggie grew up in the same house, Neverland, yet each developed their own distinct identity. Prince is calm, rational, and clearly goal-oriented. Paris is the rebellious soul carrying storms within, but also radiating rebirth. Biggie is the quiet youngest sibling silently observing and speaking only when necessary. Despite these differences, there has never been any hierarchy or inheritance conflict among them, something the media once predicted would happen after Michael's death. Prince himself shared in a 2021 interview, "At this point in our lives, we don't feel there's a hierarchy like, I'm the oldest brother anymore. Honestly, we're all siblings and we're all equals. My sister has her strengths, my brother has his, and there are things I'm not as strong at. They complement me that way." This wasn't a polite statement. It was proof of a bond built on respect, not just blood. The three siblings still make time to gather whenever they can. Despite their busy schedules, they strive to have small family dinners, movie nights, or simply moments together. In August 2023, on what would have been Michael Jackson's 65th birthday, all three appeared at Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino to meet fans, share childhood memories, and reflect on their feelings while watching Cirque du Soleil's Michael Jackson 1. Around the same time, Paris also performed on stage in Colorado, shouting to thousands, "I owe him everything." It wasn't just a line, it was the truth. In March 2024, Prince, Paris, and Biggie again appeared together on the red carpet for the London opening of MJ the Musical. No lengthy speeches, no media stunts, just the three of them standing side by side, a silent declaration that no matter where life takes them, the family bond remains unbroken. And that bond is not just love, it's responsibility. Michael Jackson's will states that 40% of his estate would be divided equally among his three children, each receiving about $8 million per year. But money isn't the only thing they inherited. They also carry the weight of global expectations, constant media scrutiny, and the burden of a name, Jackson. Paris once said, "I don't live to please anyone, but I know there are things I have to protect, for my dad, for us." And she did that not by becoming the female Michael, but by being honest with herself. Meanwhile, Prince chose education and philanthropy as a way to uphold his father's spirit of compassion. He founded Heal Los Angeles as a promise to continue Michael's vision to help make the world a better place. Biggie, with all his quietness, was the one to firmly oppose the misuse of their father's estate, as seen in his recent legal challenge against their grandmother, Katherine Jackson. He doesn't speak much, but his actions echo louder than any statement. As adults, none of the three chose to become copies of Michael. They don't wear red jackets, imitate moonwalks, or release cover albums of Thriller. Instead, they chose to live authentically to build their own voices, while never straying from their roots. Each is a unique puzzle piece, and it's their differences that together form a complete portrait of the living legacy of the King of Pop. If there's one thing certain, it's this: Michael Jackson left more than music. He left behind three hearts, beating in sync with his ideals, yet each with its own rhythm. And perhaps in his silence he smiles watching this. That the children he once shielded behind veils and curtains are now strong enough to stand before the world together as a family and as true heirs. Prince, Paris, and Biggie Jackson have grown up, not to become copies of their father, but to continue the legacy he left behind in their own ways. Three paths, one origin, and a bond that never breaks family. If this story resonates with you, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel to explore more untold chapters.
All data, analysis, and commentary in this video are presented based on information available at the time of production. The content is subject to change over time and should not be considered a definitive forecast. There is still so much more to explore: stories of resilience, legacy, and truth. Feel free to dive into some of our top recommended videos now appearing on your screen.